1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3, but in Tradon's case, it equals numbers, stats, and a good and a bad thing. Trade, tell you.
Yeah, well, I'm going to add one more. My insane thing for the week is my fucking dog going nuts right now. Dude, calm down.
Chill.
So we got one good thing, one bad thing, one number segment for hockey this week. Very similar how we have been, kind of doing it. It's been an interesting week, especially with the Russian sanctions and all that. We're not going to get into any of that stuff. But it's been an interesting week. We're seeing the Pacific Division continue to get tighter and tighter. As we stand, we have 5 teams from the Central in the playoffs, only 3 in the Pacific, because Edmonton can't figure themselves out. Neither can the Ducks for some reason right now, and the Sharks are sitting in a second spot. So it's kind of weird. But anyway, my one good thing for the week, it has to be the Montreal Canadiens. And it's kind of weird. I mean, if you kind of skipped a few podcasts or whatever, we were just talking about this team having probably the worst season of their entire history. And in the last 11 games since they've got their new coach, Martin St. Louis, this is his first go at it as a head coach, as a coach in general, but beyond amateur peewee hockey. It's been very good, guys. We are seeing Martin St. Louis is 7-4 in his last 11 games, in his first 11 games, as a head coach in the NHL. Dominic Ducharme, for context, went 8-30-7 before he got the boot. So wow, quite a turnaround. And I think, James, the biggest turnaround for this team, obviously they're playing much better, but I look at how, we're not expecting them to make the playoffs. We're not expecting them to, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. It's how the team and how especially the young players are kind of trending. You can't have those young players learning that losing is okay. And so I look at Cole Caulfield in particular, and I know this is a guy that you've talked about in the past on this podcast. Very, very bad start, but has greatly turned it around since Martin St. Louis was behind the bench. What are your thoughts, about maybe this Cole Caulfield, relationship with Martin St. Louis, and how you think, he's going to fare the rest of the season? And, I guess, what do you think about Cole Caulfield going in the last part of the season here?
I love it, man. I think before, Cole Caulfield was a product of Dominic Ducharme and how the old coaching staff treated him, because Ducharme was part of that coaching staff that didn't pull Caulfield up, right? And he sat Caulfield for the first couple of playoff rounds. And so there was kind of a lot of resentment there, I feel like. But now he's playing under somebody who actually might believe in him a little bit more. And with that trust comes greater responsibility. And this guy's stepping up. Cole Caulfield is a good player. He's shown flashes of it in the past, in the playoffs, on the big stage. You've seen it before. And now it's just somebody believes in him. And that goes a long way. And this guy has a lot of potential, guys. He's so fast. He's probably one of the fastest players in the NHL right now. What it comes down to is he physical enough, or can he sustain an entire season? And the more we see him play in the NHL, the more we say, yeah, he can. Because he hasn't been injured all that often. He's been sent down a couple of times because of Ducharme, but now with this new coaching staff, it's not looking likely. It's now focused on the young guys and focus and see how far they can come. So we see what we have. So now we know what we need for the future.
Yeah. I mean, look, for context, Cole Caulfield is a small guy. And if anybody has been a fan of hockey in the last, 15, 20 years, that Martin St. Louis is a undrafted Hall of Famer. And he was a 5'7", maybe 5'8" hockey player, completely disregarded because of his size. And he's always lived his life with a chip on his shoulder saying, I'm going to show you. And he did. I mean, he did in every facet of his career. And now he sits here in the coaching position, and everyone was saying, hey, you're not going to be able to do this. You can't do this. And clearly he's doing something. And it's not like they changed the team. Like that's the only change. So, and Cole Caulfield, again, for context, his biggest idol was Martin St. Louis. So imagine, James, just imagine you you play hockey, you're idolizing this one player, and all of a sudden he's your coach, one morning. I mean, it's just that alone is enough for you to get up for games. Let alone the issues that he had with the other coach, if he had any. But he's had multiple multi-point games in the last 11 games. He's almost hitting a point per game. Well, he's definitely a point per game, but he's only missed 2 games where he hasn't had a point. I mean, he's been just lighting the lamp these days. And so I guess, Tyler, I want to ask you how, I know this is not going to be a successful year for the Montreal Canadiens, but I mean, how do you like their trend, and what would you consider a, I guess, successful end of the year from this point on?
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed kind of one of the reasons why I think Caulfield has been done so well under St. Louis, because he's the exact same kind of guy. Those are kind of coaches. When you have a coach that was that player that was an undrafted player, or a guy that really had to grind, and really, he wasn't like a Wayne Gretzky. And it's not a knock on Wayne Gretzky, but I'm sure Wayne Gretzky, probably not the greatest coach in the world, because he just had this unnatural talent that it was just easy for him, right?
Yeah.
He had to work his fucking ass off to be as good as he was. I think that translates much better to being a great coach. And I think that's why you're seeing the success he has. I think there's also a culture shift, and I think St. Louis, he coaches to win, not to avoid losing. I think that it's a small difference when it comes to sports, when you coach, when you play to win, not to avoid losing. That's a huge mental mind shift. I think that's what you're seeing there in Montreal. I think that enough is a reason to celebrate the success for this season. The fact that you've gotten rid of just a bad culture, a bad toxic environment, and hopefully shift over to an environment that wants to win, not just accepts mediocrity. I think that's a win. Hopefully they sign this guy to a long-term contract. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think he's the type of coach that a lot of these, especially young players, can relate to, and he's going to develop these guys into pure winners, because that's what he did. He knows how to do that. He knows how to go from being a guy that's overlooked, that's got a chip on their shoulder, and translate that into success at the biggest stage. So I think this is a great move for them. I think that they've certainly turned a corner there in Montreal. Hopefully that can continue happening. And you just, sometimes you have a season that's just so shitty, you just want to take something out of it. You've had a season, just because you don't make the playoffs, or you don't have a winning record. What's something you can take from this season? For me, it's the culture change in Montreal. That's what you take from this season. I believe that has happened under the new coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on the money there. I mean, like I said, he's had quite the adversity that he's faced, and he's overcome it in every step of the way. And he's clearly taken on this role. And even if he's there to be, I hate to use the word snitch, but clearly there's some issues within the organization that, bringing in an outsider was part of the process that Jeff Gorton kind of, thought, when he brought in Martin St. Louis. Obviously, front office and now the coaching staff have all been replaced since the beginning of the season. So even if he's not re-signed, at least he's going to be able to give some perspective to Jeff Gorton there, and put him in a direction. Whether or not he's going to be the coach next year, we'll see. But I so far have to tip my hat to him. I have to tip my hat to Jeff Gorton and all those players, because they're, when you're a young player, you can't learn to lose. Right. I mean, regardless. I mean, I'm sure the fans are punching the air because now they're going to lose out on the Shane Wright lottery. But you can't be playing for that, and it just is not good for when you have a Cole Caulfield. I mean, he's going to be an elite player. Jeff Preachy's playing a lot better. Nick Suzuki is your cornerstone. So congrats. James, I'm sure you're kind of smiling a little bit to see Montreal just to see them do well.